So flat versus natural versus vibrant, radiant, and all that other fun stuff. So let's take a look here. So I'm in live view, and let's just take a look at these profiles. And in particular, we're going to be taking a look here at the tone curve display. Now, as you go through these various settings, if you keep paying attention here to the tone curve, you'll notice that it changes. Now, the thing that I find remarkable about this is you could actually use these when you're doing your post-processing in RAW to come up with the same type of tone curve as what you can find within the custom images on the Pentax camera now. Because you can actually mimic the same tone curve profile. I usually shoot in bright, and if we go down here, you can adjust the low key and high key adjustments. As you can see, pay attention to the image. Notice how much it's getting washed out in the high key area. And then we go down to the low key, and green is always where the factory default is. We can increase the contrast. So the way the tone curve works is this is the shadow area, this is the midtone area, and this is the highlight area. So you've got the three different parameters. So right now it's crushing the blacks, it's making them extremely dark. It's raising the highlight area, and it's keeping the midtones pretty much natural, right? And as you turn it down, you'll notice it's increasing the blacks and decreasing the highlights. So let's go down to the next one, and here you can change the contrast. So that's raising the highlight contrast way up and bringing it down. And this one here is for the shadow area. And then you've got your sharpness, which has no effect on the tone curve at all. So let's look at the actual profiles here. So we've got natural, portrait, landscape, and if you look at the greens up here, look at the difference between portrait and landscape, and pay attention to the color wheel as well. We're going to look more into that in a minute. So natural is fairly evenly spread. Nothing's exaggerated. And in portrait, you've got more magenta and more greens, less on the cyan and blues, and less on the reds and yellows. And as we go down, vibrant, you can see it's pretty stretched. You get exaggerated reds and magenta, you get more cyan and more green, you get less blues and yes, less yellows. And let's go to SATOBI, and you'll notice very, very small color distribution here. And look at the tone curve. So it's got suppressed shadows and slightly higher highlights. All right, so let's go to the opposite of that, which would be vibrant or Miyagi. Not Miyagi, this is not Karate Kid. So looking at the greens here, you can see how they're exaggerated. I don't have really anything magenta toned, but then look at how subdued SATOBI comes out. So to me, it's more of like a dreamy, nostalgic film look from, I don't know, I guess the 70s and 80s or 60s and 70s. Sort of not quite like a Velvia, but more like, I guess Ektachrome would be one of them. Some of the Kodak color films within that era. And then we've got Radiant, which really exaggerates everything. Now the grass is almost green, is almost yellow, sorry, just due to the exaggeration. So let's take a look at Vibrant, and then we'll go back down to Radiant, and you can see the color difference there. So, and again, the tone curve is also showing a little bit more of what it's doing. It's exaggerating the higher tone colors and suppressing the darker tones. So that's pretty much all there is with that. And then as you adjust these parameters as well, right, it'll also change the tone curve as you adjust these parameters as well. So now let's actually look in Digital Camera Utility 5 and see how this looks actually on the big screen. Okay, so let's talk SATOBI. Now, if you look at just along here, if you look at the actual hawk, as I make these changes. Actually, first things first, let's get rid of this noise reduction smearing stuff. I don't like what DCU5 does to the images at all. Really don't like it. Anyway, okay, so let's look at the custom images here. So we've got Miyabi, not Miyagi. This is not Karate Kid. It's not Mr. Miyagi. Miyabi, which is vibrant, right? So let's see what that looks like. So there's vibrant. It's just a slight change in the color tones. If you look along the edge right here and along the feathers just over here. If we go back to bright, see it's a slight bit of a change. And now if we use SATOBI, which is apparently the correct pronunciation. Now if we use SATOBI, you'll see that it desaturates the colors, right? It gives a very, like, more of a dreamy look, which obviously doesn't work very well with birding. So let's try to bring up a different image here. No, I don't want to save anything. Let's bring up a different image here. Let's see, do I have any raws in fall color? Yes, I do. Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's just grab this one here. Load it up. Load it up. And see what we get. All right. So let's wait for this to load. Do. And if you look at the color wheel here, I guess the application of the various strengths of color. We've got, let me just drag this down a bit here. And let's bring, oh, why is that not showing the whole thing here? What's happening? Interesting. It doesn't even show the whole thing. Anyway, okay, so let's take a look at bright. Right? So there's bright, there's natural, slightly more muted. Bright is a bit more saturated. Again, if you look at the application of the colors and the strength, so there's less reds, less magenta tone, more blue, slight bit more cyan, tad bit more green, and it exaggerates the yellows or enhances the yellows. And let's go to portrait, and you'll see more of the magenta tone and more of the green tone. Right? Now, it's very important to pay attention to this. This will help you understand how the camera is interpreting color. So this is much more pronounced yellow, more saturated blues, cyan not so much, greens bit muted, or not really, well, a bit muted compared to before. And now let's take a look at SATOBI, and you'll see it mutes all the colors. I mean, the difference between even, say, natural and SATOBI. SATOBI is extremely dreamlike. It's a very, very dreamy looking thing here. So this would be like, just to start off. This is sort of like a start off parameter. Let's change the key a bit. Or, we're going for the dreamy look, so let's make it nice and bright. Yeah. We'll leave the contrast. Oh, we'll lower the contrast a bit. And let's see. Set contrast. Yeah. So now we've got muted and SATOBI. And the opposite of SATOBI would be vibrant, right? Because this is enhancing a lot of the color detail versus SATOBI, which is reducing it. Now, obviously, SATOBI is not going to work in every single element that you're shooting. It's a very specific thing. I think more, vast landscapes, things like that. If you want to have that, nostalgic, dreamy-ish kind of look, and you don't want to add extra sharpening, that's just my opinion, because it is more of a dreamy look. So let's actually reduce the contrast here. And that'll probably give it a, yeah, there we go. There we go. That's better. All right. Let's look at the exposure. Bring the tone curve down a tad. Oops. A little too much. Bring that up a bit. I'll actually bring this one up just a bit. And let's drop the exposure down. There. There. If you look at the histogram, looks good. I didn't even look at the histogram at all. So now we've got that. Let's go back to custom image. And let's take a look at, say, flat. Right, even flat has a much more defined color. So SATOBI is very much just a desaturated, dreamy, nostalgic look of old film. And that's pretty much all that SATOBI really is. I just want to wish everybody a merry belated Christmas and Happy New Year and a happy Kwanzaa for all those who are celebrating Kwanzaa this year, and all my Jewish brethren with Hanukkah. Yeah, so if you like the video, leave a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Always helps out. Be safe, enjoy your holidays, and I wish you all the best for 2022. Make it your year. No procrastination. If you have projects or things that you want to get done, just dig in, one step forward at a time, get them done. Just do it. Just own this year. Make this year your year. No half-stepping. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to support the channel, I'll leave that information at the bottom of the description. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And you'll see me next year in my next video. I'm out.